Hey guys, my name is MackTen and welcome to the very first ever episode of Feed Noob, a weekly YouTube show about Dota 2 that I'm going to be starting now. So, this first episode is going to have three parts. The first thing I'm going to do is talk about if you're really new, you've never played Dota, maybe you've played LoL or StarCraft 2, but I'm assuming that you have the basics of the game down, you know that you need to kill your enemies, ancient, and push lanes, etc., etc. So, that's the first thing I'm going to talk about. The second thing I'm going to talk about is I want to give a brief little guide for people coming over from League of Legends. I think that's pretty important for me to touch on. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about not feeding like a noob and how you can not feed like a noob during the early parts of the game. So, getting started. So you've never played Dota before, or you've played a couple of games of Dota and you'd like a much stronger understanding of the game, a much more firm grasp. I'd recommend going either or rather both, the Dota 2 Wiki and Dota Cinema, a great YouTube channel, much better than I could ever hope to be. Dota Cinema is an incredible YouTube channel, and they have introduction videos telling you what skills do and what skills each heroes have in Dota 2, and then they also have a corresponding video that tells you how to play that hero. What is a good item build? What kind of playstyle should you have in the lane? Can you solo mid? Is it a good carry? Is it more of a side carry? Is it a support? Is it just a ganker and nothing else? Like, there's a lot of information that these videos put out, and I really would recommend going one at a time through each hero, reading the Wikipedia page, watching at least one, preferably both. If they do have both videos out for the hero, watch both of the videos on Dota Cinema, and then play a game with that hero. You don't have to win, but play a full-length game, whether against computers, whether against bots, or whether against real people. Play through the entire game start to finish. Preferably, you might want to do this, like I did this in alphabetical order. I would recommend doing it in reverse alphabetical order because Zeus is a lot easier than the Alchemist. The Alchemist is sort of a trial by fire if you're going to be doing it in alphabetical order. So I would recommend doing that. And though you can do it either way, I'd recommend doing it against bots, because bots will not rage at you if it's your first time playing and you're messing up. You can also adjust the difficulty level of them. It's sort of a sandbox way for you to feel the game out for yourself. This is what I did. This is how I sort of relearned all of the heroes since I played Dota 2 years ago. So that's sort of what I would recommend for someone just getting started, just sort of getting into Dota. Now, specifically, I've got a little segment I want to talk about for the League of Legends players. Okay, so most of you guys know that League of Legends, at least in some way or form, is related to Dota 2 in the sense that it is a MOBA game. MOBA as a genre, that idea, that concept was actually named by League of Legends so they wouldn't have to call themselves a Dota clone. However, to be fair, some of the original developers, in fact developers older than Ice Frog, work for Riot Games. So nothing against them, even though I really don't like LoL. So there are a lot of inherent differences and a lot of stylistic differences that one would need to be aware of to really play Dota well if you're coming from League of Legends. Dota 2 is a much more dangerous game than League of Legends. In Dota 2, it is really easy to die. I mean, you're going to die a lot. And you're probably going to get a lot of kills. You have the ability to get a lot of kills, but you're probably going to die a lot. In League of Legends, it's worth it to sort of overextend yourself to try to grab first blood. You don't want to do that in Dota 2. In Dota 2, it's better to play a more defensive style. In Dota 2, if you're just getting started, now I'm not saying this is the golden rule, because it certainly is not, but if you're just getting started, then you're probably going to want to always run when in doubt. Now I'm saying if someone on your team is telling you, go here, everyone's going to team fight here, and everyone but you is going, that's bad, you should go. But in general, if it's you and another guy in the lane, and your buddy's about to die, you have no way to save him, and there's 2 or 3 other heroes that are about to gank you as well, you should probably get out of there. Dota 2 is a game where you play much more defensively than League of Legends, and the skill ceiling is a lot higher. Another thing is, in Dota 2, you cannot port back to your base with the push of a button. Walking from where you are back to your base is a lot of time. If you get harassed and you're really weak early game, you don't want to get killed, because that's time that you're not getting farm, that's bonus gold and bonus experience to your enemies. Especially if you have a carry or side carry in the enemy lane, you really don't want to be dying. So the solution to this is to go the fuck home. Now, how can you do that if you don't have the ability to automatically go home whenever you want? You use a teleportation scroll. It's 135 gold. You can get it at the side shops or at the main shop. And you always want to leave base with one if you're going mid. And if you're going in a side lane that's been pushed back a lot, then you probably want to leave base with one. If you're going for a side lane that you're laning pretty well in, then you can just sort of rely on grabbing it while you're there because they have it at the side shop. So that's another thing. That brings me to my next point, my next 2 points, which is how do I stay in lane longer? Alright, well, the first way that you stay in the lane longer in Dota 2 is by getting a courier. A basic courier costs you 150 gold. Your supports should be buying this, which I'll talk about in another video. But the courier will basically bind it to a hotkey. You can buy items from the store to your courier, and then send the courier out to lane to give you the items so that you don't have to go all the way home to heal yourself up. Which brings me to my last point on staying in the lane. Do not buy boots first. Please don't buy boots first. You can always tell if someone's new to Dota or if they're coming from LoL if they buy boots before they buy anything else. Because you don't really... That movement speed is not that big of a deal unless you know for a fact you're going to be ganking or someone's going to be trying to gank you constantly in the early phases of the game. And that's almost never. There are only a couple of heroes where it's ever okay to buy boots first. What you want to do is you want to get tangos, which allow you to consume a tree to gain, I believe it's 115 hit points over a few seconds, over like 15 seconds, something like that. It's a regeneration item. There's also a healing salve, which costs 100 gold, which 3 tangos cost 90. So it's extremely expensive, but you regenerate 400 health just like that. You regenerate health extremely fast, and you regenerate a lot of health. However, if you are hit while you pop a salve, you lose it. So salve, it's good to have 1 salve, 3 tangos, and then clarities. Clarities, like salve, will lose if you get hit. What they do is they revive 100 mana over a specific period of time. So they're really, really, really good for intelligence heroes and heroes that are extremely mana dependent, but you want to stay back. A magic wand, which gains a charge whenever an enemy hero uses an ability within a large AoE around you, can be detonated for a maximum of up to 15 charges, and each charge will recover 15 mana and 15 health to you. So a magic wand or a magic stick, both of those items are very, very good early game to try to help you stay in the lane once you've got a little bit of farm to buy them. But primarily at the start of the game, unlike LoL, you don't want boots, you want regeneration items and a courier so that you can stay in the lane for as long as possible. Now the next thing, actually a couple more things. Another thing is wards. Now, I'm sorry, it's been around 9 months since I played LoL. I don't remember if they have wards, but if they do, they're not as important as they are in Dota 2. In Dota 2, wards are potentially game-breaking and potentially life-saving. Wards are invisible. They're an item that spawns an invisible unit that's fixed at a certain location wherever you spawn it that gives you a massive AoE field of vision around the area. In that massive AoE field of vision, you will see everything there for 6 minutes. And they come in 2 packs that cost 200 gold. So if you put them at both of the rune locations, you always know when a rune is there. You can also get 4 of them, put 2 at the rune locations, and then put 2 at different critical points, which you can see there are lots of videos about warding, but just remember to get wards. Just bottom line is get those wards. You can put them in strategical points, either in lanes that you have way pushed back towards your end, or in the jungle, to see where those heroes are coming, to help you set up ganks, or more importantly, to see when the enemy team is trying to set up a gank on you. They're extremely important. And then, lastly, I believe this is the last thing that I want to talk about in this section, is if you're coming from League of Legends, you should already know what last hitting is. When a monster gets low when a creep gets low on hit points, if you are the person to use the ability that actually gets that takes that last point of life on it and kills it, you get a little chunk of bonus gold. Something that is very, very, very important, and if you are getting perfect last hits, your opponent is getting no last hits, then you will almost outlane him no matter what the situation, because last hitting is that important. In Dota 2, unlike League of Legends, we also have a separate mechanic called denying. Now, denying is extremely it's extremely good. If you can deny, I would say denying if you're against a really, really hard carry. If you're a support laning against a really hard carry, it's more important for you to deny than last hit, I would argue, at least in most circumstances. Because if you deny, that's when you last hit your own creeps, and you deny them experience and the gold that they would get if their creeps had killed it, or the big chunk of gold that they would have gotten if they had last hit it himself. So denying is extremely important, and because you have denying alongside last hitting, the skill ceiling is inherently higher in Dota 2 from just a mechanics perspective. So it's pretty different from League of Legends, and you can sort of see from what I've told you so far that because mechanics are more important, because mechanics are more flexible, and because the game is much more offensive in nature, and by more offensive I mean you need to play more defensive because it's easier to get killed, the skill ceiling in Dota 2 is much higher than League of Legends, and so you really want to be careful. You kind of want to play defensive, you want to watch your enemy heroes, and you really... One more thing, and I know people do this in LoL, but I just want to reiterate this. If you don't see a hero in your lane, whether it's one hero, two heroes, both heroes, whatever, whenever you see a hero that's not in your lane, that should be in your lane, and that's gone for a very long period, for, you know, more than 10 or 20 seconds, let the rest of your team know so that they know to be on the lookout in case that hero pops into another lane to immediately kill one or both of the players in that lane. So I believe that's all I had to talk about for League of Legends players. Which brings me to my last point. How do you not feed? How do you play a little defensively? Or a little more defensively. How do you play and feel relatively safe? Now you're never entirely safe in Dota, and you can get your ass rolled at any point in time. But there are ways to play more defensively, at least in the laning phases of the game. So let me give you guys a little bit of a little brief peek at that. Okay, guys, so this is just a basic lowdown of where to be and where not to be. Now this area right here is okay, but a little bit risky, because if, let's say, for the Dire, I'm talking from the Dire perspective, here I am right here, the Zeus. So if I attack right here, if I start attacking this creep, I can last hit this creep, I can last hit this creep, relatively safe. I know at least one of their heroes is right here. Really, this area right here should be warded. Ideally, you want to put a ward right here, that way you can see the tip of the rune. You can barely see the rune, but you can. And you can see this area, which is a place where people like to gank you from. So, this area right here is an okay area to be. It's the area that you'll see Tidehunter running in and out of to try to last hit the creeps. And if I know that this area is warded, then this area is relatively safe. Now, if Kunkka were to, per se, come up here, right in this area, then it would be a little more dangerous if I were to come around and, let's say, try to harass Kunkka if I were Tidehunter to try to hit him. Because if I do this, all of the creeps nearby will start attacking me, as soon as I start to harass Kunkka. So this area is more dangerous for me on the Dire side. Just like for Kunkka to be over here is extremely dangerous for Kunkka. If we were all, let's say, level 3 or level 4, and this were the same scenario, and Kunkka came over here to try to, let's say, harass Tidehunter. Let's say Tidehunter was down here, where this creep is, and Kunkka came over to try to harass him a little bit. If we still had these creeps here, we'd probably get the kill. So you kind of want to stay back. You want to hover around. This is a little bit too close, in my opinion, especially if you're new at the game. But you want to hover behind the creep line on your side of the creep line, and you want to time out when to dart up forward and last hit the creep, and then dart back and just bounce around in this general area right in here. So also, if you're really in trouble, if you're really scared, if you are not, let's not say about to die low on health, but let's say I'm like right in here. I'm like at a third of my health or a fourth of my health, and I need to regenerate. Come back here and just hug the tower. There's no shame in hugging a tower if you're really about to die. If you're really low on health, if you're about to die, you should just go home. You can grab a warp scroll over here and a town portal scroll and go home. But in general, you want to stay right in here This is the safe area. This is where you can lane safely. And this is not a risky zone, but this is a zone you don't want to live in. This is a zone you want to dart into to try to last hit creeps. And this is the danger zone. You don't want to be in the danger zone. The danger zone is a very rough place to be. If you're in the danger zone, he better have like next to no health, and you better be pretty sure you're going to get the kill. Especially if you're just getting started playing the game, you want to stay back here. I want to say that the newer you are at the game, the more defensive you want to play, so that people will be even less likely to scream at the top of their lungs, "Don't feed noob." So thank you very much for watching. This has been episode 1 of Don't Feed Noob. My name is MackTen, and I'm going to go play some Dota. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and please feel free to leave me feedback, questions, comments, complaints, concerns in this video's YouTube comments, on the Reddit thread, on the reallifehighscore.com page, or via my Twitter at MackX10, and other contact methods will be listed in the video's information. So thank you again. I will see you next time, and bye-bye.